Hello, everybody. I was going to originally get outside and use some of my power tools today, but then decided to take some advice of some people who commented about maybe making shorter videos. So, what I decided to do is take some of the projects I've already done and split them up into individual components, and that way, the project length or the video length is between 10 and 20 minutes, maybe 25 at the most. It makes it a little bit easier for people to watch it who may not have a lot of time. And I do understand that most people these days don't have time to sit around and watch YouTube videos. So I'm splitting them up. So the first one that I'm going to split up is one of my favorites, of course, and it's my candy corn video. Okay, so I made this little candy corn out of some peel and stick tile from the Dollar Tree, cardboard, paint, and other supplies. And so I'm going to share that with you. The idea for this came from a Pinterest photo that my sister found. Oftentimes my family members will say, "Hey, I like this, can you make it?" Or they'll just say, "Hey, I like this," and I know that means they want me to make it for them. So anyway, so we're going to be watching that project. So please like and subscribe. Subscribe and also give me a little maybe fall emoji. I don't know, like a leaf or a pumpkin or a candy corn or something like that in the comments down below. Thanks so much. My sister sent me a picture of this and wanted to know if I could make it, so I had the stuff. Here's the paints that I used and the materials listed here. And so I'm going to start out by making a template. The template that I'm going to use, I'm going to essentially make a triangle. I'm going to use this piece of peel and stick wall tile from Dollar Tree to kind of get the width of the base of the triangle, and I'll connect the dots and round them off to make a candy corn shape. Once I have it drawn out, I'm going to then fold it in half so that it will be equal on both sides, and then I'm going to cut out the template for my candy corn. And here is my template measurements with you here. You can see that it is going to be essentially about 9 inches across the base and about 12 inches in height. Now I need to make the template for the baby candy corns. I'm just going to use the scrap pieces that are left over to create this, and I'll fold this piece in half, and I'm going to freehand a basic triangle that has rounded corners. I'll trim that up to give it a good shape. It's a little too round on the edges, but I fixed it later on. And now I'm going to use some cardboard for my baby candy corns. And I'm going to start by peeling off the top layer of the cardboard. I want the corrugated textured part of the cardboard. I'm going to cut off this small flap using these electric scissors I got from Amazon. They're amazing. Cut like butter through the cardboard. And I'm going to continue to work on peeling off this top layer to reveal the corrugated texture underneath. I'm going to use my Cricut tool to help out with that. And I also have a pair of tweezers that I'll use to kind of put underneath the top layer and just kind of pull it off over time. You can see how the corrugation is present there. And then I'm going to use my template and outline uh, it on the back of my piece of cardboard. And I will use my little cutting tool and cut that out. And now I'm going to use my large candy corn template. I'm going to use my Sharpie marker to trace that out. I'll do two on one sheet of cardboard. Um, I also like the lines of the cardboard to be parallel to the length of the candy corn. I believe it'll add more support for the project. And then I'm going to use my handy dandy electric scissors. And I'm going to cut those out. And again, these are awesome. I got them off Amazon, and it cuts cardboard like like nothing. So much easier than using a pair of hand cutting scissors. And now that I have my large candy corns cut out, I need to cut out my tiny ones. Again, using my electric scissors that I got from Amazon. I'm going to cut those out carefully. And you can see the corrugations on the other side. That's going to be the side that will be facing outward. Now I need to prepare the peel and stick wall tile. I'm going to, I have a piece left over from another project, but I'm going to use a new piece. These are 12 by 12 inch tiles, and they do have this sticky sheet on the back of them. Um, and I'm going to peel the sticky part off. You can see here, I'm just pulling that back. It's real easy to peel off. I don't need that part of the wall tile. Once I have this peeled off, I'll use my Sharpie marker to trace out my template, um, and I'll cut each one of the um, candy corn out. Um, so that it will fit on top of my cardboard piece. Now, once I have the pieces cut out, I will make sure that they actually fit on top of the cardboard. Um, and then I'm going to take the cardboard pieces and put painter's tape along the edge. I want to fold the painter's tape over the edges to make the edges solid, so that if you do see the piece from the side, you're not going to see cardboard corrugations from the side. And after I finish putting the painter's tape all the way around the edges of both large candy corn, I will then paint it with some black paint. Let me show you how I do the angles of the triangle. I take a small piece of painter's tape, I put it on the edge, and then I'm going to take my scissors and just cut slashes where it'll make it where the tape will fold over the edge, and that will make each point smooth as I fold the edge over. So you can see how I'm just folding that over, um, kind of similar to when you are reupholstering something. I want a nice smooth edge all along the edge of the candy corn. And now I have both candy corn edges taped off. I'm going to label A and B because the um, piece that goes over the top of the um, cardboard, they are different sizes a little bit. And I want to make sure that I don't get them confused and have a lot of overhang. Now this is some fall fabric. I want to put fabric along the back of the candy corn just to make it look finished on the back side. Um, and what I'm going to do is take some Mod Podge and use a thick layer of Mod Podge and just paint the back of the candy corn um, with a nice thick coat of Mod Podge. And you can see here I am just slathering it on, a nice thick coat. The reason is because when this dries, I can then take that fabric and use a hot iron and iron that fabric to the Mod Podge, and it will stick very, very nicely. So I'm going to do both big candy corns, um, get those coated, set them to the side, and let them dry. Now let's get some paint. I want to get some yellows and orange and red. I'm sorry, yellow, orange, and white. So those are the colors of the candy corn, yellow, orange, white. Um, and you can see here I'm using some fusion paint, um, which is the Tuscan orange fusion paint. It's a pretty color orange. I'm using DIY um, cottage color. It's a white, I think it's called linen white paint. And then I'm going to use a DIY liquid sunshine for the yellow. And I'm going to start out with just painting a nice white layer as a base coat over the entire tile piece. Um, the DIY paint that I'm using, the linen white paint, has both a primer and a sealer in it. And so the cottage colors in DIY have primer and sealer, and then fusion paints have primers and sealers. But the liquid sunshine paint that you see there does not have a primer or a sealer in it. So when I put this white layer down, it'll give that yellow paint something to kind of hang on to. I'm going to do both of the large candy corns. Once I have the candy corn, large candy corns painted white, I'm going to set them over to the side, let those dry. I've got the cardboard forms now. They're a little tacky, so I used some um, or used a heat gun to help them finish drying. And now I'm going to take some black fusion paint and just begin to paint the edges black all along the edge of the candy corn. So just carefully do that. I'm going to paint also a little on the front of it so that once the peel and stick tile is glued to it. I'm just showing you this is called Cold Black by Fusion, and it's black. Um, and so you'll see at some point I'll kind of turn it over and just paint just the very edge of the front so that if you're able to see behind the peel and stick tile any at all, you won't see purple tape or cardboard. It'll just be dark behind there. Once I have the edges painted black, you can see here I'm doing the front. That's going to be just under where the foil is going to, or the tile is going to stick. So I'm going to set that to the side and I'm going to start working on the small candy corn next. So I'm going to paint them white first, followed by orange and then yellow. And I'm going to just kind of use the corrugations as a nice edge from where one starts and the other one stops. So I'm going to put the white on first, and then I will go ahead and do the orange next. Also, when you're painting it, make sure that you do paint the side of the um, cardboard just so that there's color on the edge if you're looking at the piece from an angle that you're not just seeing cardboard, but that you're actually seeing color. So I'm going to do both both candy corn now with the orange layer. And next we're going to go ahead and do the yellow layer last. The yellow layer did require two coats because it doesn't have the primer and the sealer in it. So it did seep into the cardboard a little bit more than the white and the orange did. So I will put two coats on the yellow part. Once those are painted, I'm going to set those to the side, and now it is time to iron the fabric onto um, the back of the candy corn. Now I'm going to use parchment paper to protect my iron. Do not use wax paper. If you use wax paper, you will get wax on your iron. You want to use parchment paper. Now I'm going to press off the fabric because it's got all these lines in it and I don't want lines to show up. So I'm using my little craft iron. If you do not have a craft iron, you don't have to get a craft iron. You can use your regular ironing board, and I did for a long time when I would do projects, just use my ironing board. Um, there are a lot of people who have special little ironing board mats for their craft tables. I don't have one of those, so I just use a folded up towel, and it works just fine. So I laid the cardboard down with the Mod Podge on it, and then the fabric on top of that, then the parchment paper, and you see me ironing the fabric to the cardboard. And as that Mod Podge heats up, it reactivates, um, grabs hold of the fabric and holds it tightly to the cardboard. Um, you just go around the edge really, really good. And at some point down the road, I will pull it up, check the edges to make sure that there is adequate contact, that it's not loose along the edge. Once I finish ironing it on, I'll check the edges, but I'm also going to go ahead and just trim off the majority of the fabric at this point. So I'll cut that away, and then later, rather than cut the fabric close to the cardboard, I'll actually use some sandpaper and sandpaper the edges of the fabric off. It makes for a nice clean edge, a lot better than just cutting it. You see here, I'm checking the edges to make sure it's good and stuck. And if I feel like it's not, I will put the parchment paper back on and iron on the edges. And see, I'm showing you there that it wasn't quite stuck down there. So I'm going to put the parchment paper back on again, use my iron, and just really hit those edges that didn't appear to be quite stuck as well as it needed to be. And now it's time to use my finger sander, and I'm just going to sand in a downward motion. Don't go upwards, you'll pull your fabric off. So you want to sand in a downward motion. Now, usually the fabric will tear away from the edge of your project as you're sanding downward. What happened here actually was, rather than it completely tearing, there were still some threads holding the fabric on. It does make a nice little edge still, but I did have to take my scissors. You can see how it's pulling apart there, but there are some other places where it's not quite pulling like it needs to, and I'll later go ahead and use my scissors to cut the threads that are holding it in place. But you can see how nice the edge looks. Now, if you're worried about scratching the paint off that you laid down over the purple tape, don't be. The it did hold up quite well from the sanding, but in some of the areas where the paint may have chipped away a little bit, I was actually able to take a Sharpie marker and touch those edges up. And so I'm going to go all the way around these with my sandpaper, clipping the threads, holding it in place with my scissors, but it will make a nice crisp edge once I'm done. Okay, now I'm going to take the Sharpie marker and touch up my edges. Um, I'll go all the way around the edge of both of my big candy corn. And if there's any stray strings, I'll also use my scissors to remove those as I'm cleaning up the edge to make sure that they are nice and crisp there. Just trim that up a bit. And now I have both of the backs of my candy corn completed, and it's time to turn those over and work on the fronts. Now I've got to glue the peel and stick tile to the fronts. And that peel and stick tile is plastic, it's not metal or anything. Now before I glue it on, I'm going to go ahead and paint the layers, the colored layers on the candy corn. And I'm just going to use a a flat paintbrush. It's just flat all the way across to make a line of yellow. I'll do the same thing with the orange on both sides, um, uh, to demarcate where the orange is going to go. And then I will paint the yellow, orange in the middle, leaving the top white. I've got my yellow line painted on both of them now, and I'm going to do the same thing with the orange. I'll do the orange at the top here. I'm just trying to figure out, like, a third of it. And I'll start making my line, and then I will go down next to where the yellow line is and do the same thing. So I'll show you how I paint this, and I'll speed it up just so it's not boring. But you can see I make the lines, fill it in, do the same thing for both the top, or for both the candy corn. And then once I get the orange and the yellow on, I'll go back and touch up the white and set that to the side. Now, the small candy corn had ugly backs, and I cannot have an ugly back on my project. So I'm going to use the cast iron black infusion paint to just paint the back of these, so that if you do see it from behind, it doesn't look like a big piece of cardboard with mailing labels all over it. So I'll do both of these and set those to the side to dry. Once I got the big and small acorns painted, I did seal them with a polyacrylic sealer. And here I'm going to age them with some Dark and Decrepit by DIY. I just wipe that on and then wipe it off really good. Do that all over the candy corn. And I'm going to take some colored chocolate from Fusion Paint and darken the edges of the candy corns. I'll do the same thing to the small ones. Um, and once those are done, I'm going to set those to the side and let those dry so that I can then glue the tile to the piece of cardboard. I'm going to use some Titebond Quick and Thick, put it all over the back of the large candy corns, and I'm going to use a paintbrush to spread that um, glue all over the back so that I have a good solid coating of the glue so that it will adhere to the piece of cardboard. I'm going to stick that down, and I'm going to take a piece of parchment paper, put it over the top of it so that I can just kind of use my hands to slide over the tile, make sure that there's a good connection. A brayer might be a good option to use here if you have one of those. But I'm going to do this for both of the large candy corns. And you can see as I turn it over, there is a little bit of an overhang. You can see I pointed out there. I will trim that off. Now for the assembly of the candy corns and the decorating. These are some raffia bows I got from Hobby Lobby last year at the end of the fall season. I'm going to remove the button and untie them because I just want a few strands of raffia to make some what are called Kathy Joe bows, using 2 fingers, uh, and I'll show you how to do that in just a moment here. Also, I'm going to gather together some twine, and I'm going to need to uh, measure out the twine, burn off the little frayed, you know how twine has all those little hairs sticking out? If you take a cigarette lighter and just kind of gently go about burning those off, burns off nicely. You might want to have a fire extinguisher, water nearby, just in case. I've been doing this for a very long time. Never had an issue with something catching on fire and not being able to get it out. Um, but I will go through and just burn those hairs off before sticking it onto the project. And I have to admit, it's kind of fun to burn them off. a little therapeutic. Now I'm going to take the twine and I'm going to put some glue on the hot glue on the back of my small candy corns, and put the twine in that, and I will wrap this twine around um, the candy corn several times. Once I have them both wrapped, I will fix it with some hot glue down, and then I'm going to turn attention now to the pip berries. These are little berries on a wire. I got them from Hobby Lobby. I'm going to use a paintbrush stick, to wrap it around to make a little curly cue. And I'll just make that all the way around, like one long spiral. And then I will take that off and cut it into little sections. I want three of various lengths. And once I have those snipped, I will use my hot glue to glue them under the twine that I've placed there. Now we'll put some hot glue on the end of the pip berry here, and then pull the twine up and just layer it underneath the twine. Hold it down for a moment, let it dry, cool off a bit. And I'm going to do all three little pip berry stems just like this. And once I have all three pipberry stems glued under the twine, I will then move towards the raffia and use it to make my Kathy Joe bow. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to actually glue the ends of about 3 to 5 pieces of raffia together. That'll make it a lot easier to manipulate on my fingers when I begin to make the bow. And so I did the first end, put the glue on there, used my tweezers to kind of spread the glue out so that I don't have to touch it with my fingers. It's hot. So just spread it out. And it's kind of like making the little hard tip that you have on your um, tennis shoestrings. And so I'm going to wrap that bow around, stick it through my fingers, and then wrap it underneath the that piece there. Just thread it through. You see that? And then pull it tight. And it makes the cutest little bow. I'll work that off my fingers now and show you what that looks like. And I'll fluff up the raffia a little bit there. Use my scissors to cut off the tips of the glue. I'm sorry you can't see that real good, but that's what I did. So that the raffia is a little more frayed now and it's not glued together. And then I'm going to glue that little raffia bow right in the middle of those pip berries on top of that twine. There we go. Oops, tried to stick to my finger there. Using my tweezers to hold it down there. And I've got the first one complete. I'm going to do the second one the exact same way. And now that I have both of my little candy corns done, it's time to do the big ones. So I'm going to do the same thing with the twine. Yes, I did burn it off camera. I know some of y'all may be triggered by that. If you don't want to burn your twine, don't do it. You don't have to do it. It's a thing that I like to do to get the hairs off. I hate the hair on the twine. And I'm going to now wrap this around probably about, I believe I wrapped it around about 5 times. Kind of going in various directions, overlapping it here, holding up my finger on the front. It's glued on the back with a hot glue already. Well, actually, it was glued on the front with a hot glue, but holding my finger in the place so that it doesn't move too much. Might have been more like 7 times or something along those lines. And I'm going to glue that down. I'll do this on both of the big candy corns, um, and um, trim off my twine once I kind of have this glued in place. This is going to be covered up by the bow that I'll be making later on. So I'm not worried about it being messy glue. You're not going to see it. Um, I'll trim that off now. Okay, now I'm going to take some various bunches of ribbon that I've collected. I've gotten some from Temu, I've gotten some from Amazon. Of course, you can pick them up from Hobby Lobby, Michael's, the Dollar Tree will sometimes have it. I'm going to use this cream colored and brown burlap ribbon. It is a bit unruly, and so you'll see me kind of um, tug on it. I'm going to measure it so you can kind of see the length, but I believe I'm going to do it about 8 inches. Um, Actually, about 10 inches, and cut it about 8 to 10, anywhere between 8 and 10 inches. And I'm going to vary the lengths up. So I'm gonna make I'm going to cut 6 of these around the 8-inch mark, 3 for each bow, 3 on one, 3 on the other candy corn. So I'm going to make 6 of these. Um, and then I will also cut the other ribbon either a little bit longer or a little bit shorter than this. What this is going to be, this is a messy bow is what this is. So it's not your typical, fluffy bow. It's a messy bow. Next, I'm going to cut 6 pieces of this ribbon that's got the um, leaves on it. I'm using my previous cut piece as a guide. I'm going to cut it a little bit larger. And then I'm going to do this gingham here. It'll probably be right around the same size. It ends up being shorter after I get it all put together. I'll cut 6 pieces of that. And then I'm going to add in some lace, or it's lace, ribbon lace. And then I'm going to cut 2 um, pieces of twine because that's going to tie the messy bow together. And I'll show you how I lay this out in order to make it. And so you can see how I crisscross them, put one in the center, and I'll do that with each one going forward. Um, you see how unruly that burlap one is, but it ends up making it really pretty. Put the lace on and then the gingham, and I'm going to use this twine. Actually, I kind of rotate the twine around, tie it on the back, and just squish it together real hard, like that. And then just fluff it up. And then after I got both of them made, I'm going to take those pre-made raffia bows, and I'm going to hot glue them in the center of my messy bow. So I'm going to put some hot glue on the back and put the raffia bow in the center of the messy bow. And once that is in place, I'm going to trim the excess twine strings, and I will fluff it up a little bit, see where I want it to go, and then glue the messy bow to the twine of each of the big um, candy corns. And once I have my messy bows glued onto my large candy corns, it's time to now glue on the baby candy corns to the mama candy corn. And I'm just checking placement where I want it to go. I want it kind of tilted a little bit. Um, and I will use my glue gun, put a copious amount on the back. And hold that down until that is cooled and attached. And now you can see the back of it. I do look at the side to make sure that it is glued well. Add some more glue to the side, hold that to make sure that that little baby candy corn is adhered really well to the big candy corn. Hold that in place, and what I'll do is at the end of this video I will show you a style picture of them, but at this point we're going to go to projects. Here is my little candy corn styled. Halloween scares the diet out of me, with some florals there in one of my little hutches. um, I did tone back the aging a little bit. It was a little heavy handed. Went over and dry brushed with the white, um, orange, and yellow to kind of lighten it a little bit so that it didn't look like it was dirty. I wanted it to look aged, not dirty. Some of you guys may think it looks dirty. If you don't like it, don't do it. This is what I like.